can smell my tea. For some reason, it smells not great. Stinky tea. Yo, yo, yo. What's good in the hood? I'm feeling in a real good mood. Who here's in a good mood? With some hardwood. But should you tell anyone? Probably not. 'Cause they'll think you're just a real big thought, a weirdo. A bit of a goof. A bit of a strange, aloof. But don't show 'em your hoof. The ones on your feet. Yeah, yeah. The ones on your feet. Because you're a little piggy. Snorting and snouting around. Looking for apples and trash. Or whatever the fuck they eat. That's neither here nor there. We gotta get you ready for the fair competition. Have you ever seen that shit? Where they show off pigs at a fucking fair competition. It's so freaking weird. What if you were... It's so funny to be a pig fair, like, just judge. Just going around, like, you got, like, a tape measure sizing up, like, pigs and, like, the quality of their curly tails. Just like, yeah, looks good. Yep, that's a pig. Definitely can make some good bacon with that one. 9 out of 10. What? Fucking 9 out of 10? Do you know how much work I put into this fucking pig? For a whole fucking year? You gonna give me a 9? Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the trough. You're standing in a bunch of poop. Oh, okay. Michelle Bell with the first dono and the $5 says, thanks for making stressful nights a little better with your narrations. Much love from Colorado. Thank you, Michelle. Always good to see you. Thank you so much. You want what I'm on right now? Well, I'm on 2 bags of tea mixed together. We got throat coat, and then the other one that helps the sinuses. It sounds like the job of your dreams. Hey, you could go do it probably. Throat coat, yeah, it's a type of tea. You drink one of those and you become the throat goat. AKA your throat never gets sore for an entire 3-hour streaming session. Which is what we're going for tonight. Hey, Jacob with the 2 says, hey Joe, how are you? I'm doing good, man. How you been? We've not seen you in a stream in a wee bit. So it is good to see you're alive. Mom and Dad have been worried about you. But we'll call off the police search now. Bad vibes, storytelling. Bad vibes, I thought you had like a check mark next to your name. Before. Did they take that from you? Those sons of bitches. Also bad vibes, if I were you, I would suggest getting this, so basically, yeah, I got this tea, which helps, you know. It's not that big of a deal, but it does help. But really, whenever things do start to get sore, I use this Bee Immune Throat Spray, Propolis, Beekeepers Naturals. It's on Amazon. It's pretty baller. A couple spritzes of those on the old cords, and you're back in the game. David De La Rosa with the 2 says, hey Joel, what's up, my man? How was your day? It was a good day. Just a little gym. Help my dad do some errands. Run some errands. Maybe does anybody here, maybe even Bad Vibes has some thoughts, but since he's a sound gentleman, a sound related person, such as myself, but so I have, as you've heard before, a stand-up desk that's sort of like off in like its own little corner of the room. The room is a little bit, bigger. So if I ever do any sort of like yelling, or if I have to do any sort of acting of sorts, hypothetically, it's definitely going to pick up on quite a bit of echo. And my thought process is like, should I try to wall off make like a 10 by 10? I mean, and we've talked about this before, but do you guys think, and anybody here familiar with making like drywall, should I go the full mile and just make like drywall 10 feet this way, 10 feet that way to create a full rectangular enclosure? Or could I just get like hospital curtains and put some sort of like dampening, either moving rugs or some sort of dampening curtains? I don't know. Jacob with the Tooth has been busy fighting crime. Okay, yeah. You've been hot on the trail of all the druggies in town. Taking them out one by one. The second they light up a single smoke, swift justice comes upon them. And Rennie Carter, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content, as well as sometimes being random is good. Both of you, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. I will be narrating some bonus content for the bonus content playlist this coming Saturday or Sunday, I'm thinking, because Monday's going to be a compilation video for the podcast promotion. So usually I'm trying to get on like a schedule of just doing the bonus content on those weekends. But how's my relationship with my father? It's actually good. He's a good guy. When I was younger, he was he's a tough cookie. And, he was the authoritarian. My mother was the consoler, the sweetheart. And I think it was a good, healthy thing, because it was like, sure, there was like sort of, frustrations with the person that disciplines you or whatever, but I feel like it was necessary, if that makes sense. And now that we're older and kind of just like past all that sort of adolescent angst, even though I'm sure it's still deep down there inside of me in my subconscious, manifesting itself in teeth grinding. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we get along well, and it's nice. He's a fun guy. I remember when I was younger, I used to get like really just offended by like the shit that my dad would give me. But like I would never get offended by the shit that like other guys would give me for some reason. And I never knew how to like handle it appropriately. But then as I got older, I'm like, oh, that's just good old-fashioned ribbing. Jacob with the 2 says, I have a birthday on Tuesday. You'll be 33. Oh, nice, dude. Happy early birthday, Jacob. Let's go. And 7 Leaf Clover with the 5 says, coffee ready, having a spa night, peel mask on, enjoying the night. I tagged you to one of my drawings, but deleted it, nervous to share. Oh, no worries, yeah. I know the feeling of nervousness. Sometimes I get nervous before going live. Genuine question, why don't you just start the live? Oh, so basically I give it, you can see a timer in the top corner. For the first 20 minutes or so, I just let people stroll in because, YouTube's got to get the notifications out to folks. And this is just a good time to chit chat and, shake your fellow congregant's hand. Give them a little smooch on the cheek or whatever you do. And yeah, then after that first 20 minutes of chill, we got another 9 minutes or so of that. We'll kick it off. We got Bad Friends Stories. It's kind of an ambiguous title, but basically if you ever had a bad friend, this is what they do to you. So if you hear your story of your bad friend, be sure to let me know. You might consider a 3-sided booth with a curtain behind you to allow for air movement. Yo, What do you think about this? I put that like curtain track on. It's gonna be like a hospital curtain track that goes kind of like a full 360 oval, rectangular oval around me. But then just to test it out, and then I see how the sound feels there, and then after that incorporate the drywall like additions to like wall off the area. There was a part of me that was a little bit worried, like what if I did that and then I can't like breathe in there, and I'm like, oh, please somebody let me out. The old high school friend got me kicked out of a shared uni home. It was pretty awesome. Oh damn, what the fuck? That's weird. Why'd they do that? If you had the Billy Mike's, oh yeah, you said that, sorry. Should I have popcorn or strawberry shortcake ice cream? Well, popcorn's less calories, I guess, and it's salty, and strawberry shortcake is sweet. You could just mix all of it into like one big bowl. Rennie Carter with the 1. Thank you, Rennie. Are you trying to make a whisper room? Well, a little bit, essentially, but like just, it doesn't have to be a full-on whisper room. I mean, maybe I could in some fashion build something, go to whisper room and make something custom that they send to like put together. Maybe. I don't know. Jacob with the 2 says, my son Brandon drives me crazy, but I love him. That's good. That's being a true father is about. Why not read scary Groundhog stories today? Wait, wasn't Groundhog Day yesterday? Oh my god. It's still February 2nd? What the heck? How is it still? Wasn't it February 2nd yesterday? A lot of stories making my robotics building go by so much quicker. Oh, that's cool. Hopefully that robot won't kill us. I saw something pop up on Twitter where it was like somebody giving like I don't even know who the fuck they were, and I didn't even look into it, but they were basically saying that like 29 scientists in some like robotics area were killed by robots or something. And it was weird. I mean, like it could have all just been fake, but it looked like some woman in front of a press conference who was like a part of a research team was like openly talking about how robots have already killed a shit ton of people in some research sense. And I was like, I like secretly was like, that's tragic. But in my head, I was like, please let that be true. Because if that's true, that means like we've arrived. We've arrived to the future. It cost a few lives, sure. But now we can finally like start manifesting all those terrifying science fiction, hellscapes that we've been dreaming of on anime for so long. You should start to tweet, but what's with the robots? Woo, 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 wee. Thank you for your hard work. You're welcome, Softy. I do be grinding. This is just like Evangelion. Evangeliton. Have you guys tried the Evangeliton? It's delicious. Skynet. We have the technology to take E.T. to Burger King. You can head into bed. You're welcome. Get some sleepies. Please wear a night guard. What's that? Is that like a nightgown, but just for my crotch? David with the 1. Thank you, David. The robots. What's up, gamers? What's up, Flitz? You've been listening to my videos. Thank you, Ava. Good to see you. It's from my mouth. What the hell are you guys trying to stick into my mouth? You stay out of there. That's just for food and various other products. That's for food and bad words. Stephanie Bowling with the 2 says, I'll be baking a cake for Jacob's birthday. Hell yeah, Stephanie. That is lovely to hear. What kind of cake you making? This has been my CB handle since the late 60s. What? Amelia with the 5 says, hey, Joel, sorry I'm late. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you, Amelia. Good to see you. No worries. You're just on time. We got another 3 minutes or so here, and we will kick off some Bad Friends stories. I want to thank Dream Hop Music again for their awesome playlist. It's called Spiritual Adventure. Happy Lo-Fi Beats by Tiny Turtle. Be sure to subscribe to them if you're... What time is it? It is 10:18 p.m., so I'm on the East Coast of the United States of America. Also, you don't have to spam your question. If you have a question, you can feel free to just ask it, the one time, and it should theoretically be attended to. I love EST, proud Canadian. Yeehaw! Hell yeah. EST is the best ST. Rosa Diaz with the 11 months, almost a year, says, I've been stuck at home because Texas decided to freeze over, so I hope other fellow Texans are okay. Damn, all over again. What the hell? I didn't even hear about that, to be honest. What part of Texas? Say bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. And Rennie Carter with the 5. Thank you, guys. Very generous. Thank you, Rennie. Joel's one of the only 3 people I have notifications for on Twitter because I can't miss a stream. You cannot, Skittles. You cannot. Also, I'm very disappointed in... Okay, not you, but fucking... Maybe they got back to me. No, they didn't. I really want to know. Like, I'm a subscriber to YouTube Music, and I earnestly believe in it as a product. I'll tell you why. Because YouTube Music has the ability, like, basically has access to just, like, the largest library of just, like, independent, like, tracks possible, in such an awesome way to, like, curate all of that, right? It's just, like, if someone's uploading a song, you just, like, it's going to end up on YouTube Music. But for some reason, every time I go into YouTube Music, I select an artist, I select a song. What will end up happening is, like, even if I select some totally random artist, YouTube Music will start playing one of the same songs I've listened to, like, 100 times on there before. Like, it'll just, like, immediately start going into this, like, pre-made queue of stuff that I've liked in the past. Even though I quote unquote started a radio station with it, where it's like, start a radio station, but it ended up making a radio station or playlist with stuff you've already been into. And I don't really understand that. I'm like, I want the variety. It says there's like a discovery list, but you would imagine, kind of like Pandora, kind of like Spotify, that if you clicked an artist or a song, created a radio station, that it would play stuff, a variety of stuff from all sorts of, artists that are similar and stuff. You can change the change that, if I recall, your autoplay. Yeah, I feel like it was weird because I went into it the one time where you checked your queue of what's next, and then it said, like, and it gave you these options of how to change up the vibe based on discovery, based on tempo, like all these like really unique things. I was like, this is cool for YouTube. But then you do that with a song that maybe you haven't heard before, and all of a sudden it like doesn't have that option. And also it's kind of convoluted, the manner in which you like are able to get to that point. So it's just weird to me, because like if I were to put on autoplay on normal YouTube, like if I was just on the normal YouTube desktop thing and played music, it would throw me down a rabbit hole of music that's super awesome and all over the place, and who knows what I'm gonna get. And that's how you discover a lot of music. But for some reason, the YouTube Music specific app is like oddly confusing to find new shit. So I don't know if anybody, anyways, I'm rambling about it, but the holy grail of recommendation algorithms, things you might like without it being things you already like. Exactly. It doesn't seem to work that way for some reason. And Christina, so good they named you twice with a 5. How's it going? It's going good. Thank you. And Alberto Palma with the 2 says, love all your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you, guys. And we have reached the end of our 20-minute ramble, but feel free to keep asking questions and chit-chat what we're gonna do is switch up the vibe a little bit and start recording. Sound quality is much better on YouTube Music. Yeah, I heard it was like 320. What is it? 320 kilobytes per second instead of the other one. I don't know. Jacob with the 2 says, I have to go to bed because I have to get up at 4 a.m. Oh, I'm sorry, Jacob. Early morning for you. Get some sleep, my friend. Thanks for being here, and good to see you're alive and well. That would be funny, though, if I was streaming and I just streamed for like 20 minutes and left. Alright, see you guys. Internet Grandma with the 7 Canadian maple syrup buckaroonie says, cookies for everyone. Area for you, Sir Joel, and head scratchies for Pradeep. I shall scratch his head if I ever see him again. Where is he? He is AFK currently. Jacob with the 2 says, the game lives forever. What inspired me to make the podcast? Well, just wanted to do YouTube, you know. The way I pronounce Spanish names is getting better. Proud of you. Thank you. I am trying my best to sound like a native Spanishian. We'll get there, though. Alright, friends, I think we got 7 stories curated for y'all. Let me just lube the lips. Hey, live and stay strong, 44 with the 2 says, hey, Joel, have referred clients to you, and it helps. That's cool. Like, people, what kind of clients? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but appreciate that. People have said it helps with anxiety, so I'm glad I can be a part of the healing process. Ryan with the advanced PP. Thank you, Ryan. Good to see you. Alright, friends, like I said, let's pop off here with some bad friend stories. Life can be weird sometimes, taking you places you never thought you would go and connecting you with people you never thought you would see again. Several months ago, I moved to a new town that is about an hour away from the town I grew up in. I moved into a beautiful home that rested with a quiet suburban community. Within. Beautiful home. I moved into a beautiful home that rested within a quiet suburban community, the opposite of the neighborhood I grew up in. The most peculiar and, quite frankly, the most amazing thing about my new home was the fact that I knew my neighbor. It was my old childhood friend, Artie. If I had made a list of people I was sure that I would never see again, Artie would be top of that list. Growing up, we kids in the neighborhood always get together and played sports, played tag, rode bikes, and basically just acted like degenerate youths. Of all the kids in my neighborhood, Artie was one of my best friends. When we were kids, video games were just starting to get popular, not like they are today. Artie and I were only two that were the only two. Oh shit. That's so weird, it didn't play the notification. Ashley Franks, hold on. I'm so sorry, Ashley. It didn't play the notification. Otherwise, I would have started squirking and smirking. Usually the sound indicator will like blast through while I'm reading and I can go back to chat. But I go to chat to check and there it is. Thank you so much, Ashley Franks, keeping Austin weird with a big 50 Buccarino donation. I appreciate you. Thank you. There must be something going on here, though, because Anthony, after with a 2, says none of my super chats are going through. Strange. And there's all the twerk. There's all the peaches. Well, thank you guys so much for that. I do apologize that... Here, maybe I can test... a widget, as they call it. Super chat. Oh no, dude. That's odd. What if we go back here? Oh shit. Huh. Yeah, just randomly, okay. I don't know how to fix it, which is sad. But just randomly... What about this? That's odd. It was working there for a while, I'm fairly certain, wasn't it? Wasn't it like... I switched scenes and all of a sudden the notifications don't work. Did I break it? I must have. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. It's called like Streamlabs OBS. Just, I don't know. It just randomly has like issues out of nowhere. J34 ever with the 1. Thank you, thank you. I'll try to pay attention to the chat here if I don't hear the noise. I'm gonna be richer than YouTube. They had to stop me, yeah. They had to put me down quick. Twerk so hard, YouTube trying to find me. Yeah, I don't know. Damn. I wish I knew how to, like... I wish there was a way to troubleshoot this, you know what I mean, on a stream. Because all I can do is test widgets, and if they don't work now, you know... As long as you can hear me, I guess. Can you guys still hear me okay? And the music and shit? Oh, well. Either way, thank you guys again so much, seriously. The wicked widget of the West. And Anthony with a 5 says, Russia hacking our internet providers again. Is that what's happening? You know what's weird is around here they recently did some infrastructure, like right after I was saying about how like there wasn't much competition, all of a sudden they were doing infrastructure enhancements, they said, for the internet provider. So I mean that was good, but the internet was down for a solid like 9 hours or something like that. The Chinese spy balloon? No, what's that about? There's music. I mean, it's like an ambient music in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. It's just like real subtle. Kind of set the mood. Oh yes, please leave a like. It does help. Not 9 hours, the horror. It was scary, just for me, because, you know, it happened on a day where it's like an upload day, so I'm like, fuck, this better get up so I can actually do my job. Artie and I were the only two that loved video games and spent more time than anybody else sitting inside and playing them. We'd still play outside with everybody else, but we were more invested in our video games. I even remember specifically many times when Artie would stay overnight and we'd play games all night long. Sadly, when I was in 5th grade, Artie and his family moved away. We called each other a few times, but we lost touch and never reconnected. When MySpace first came out, we became friends on that platform, but he was living his own life somewhere else, and it just seemed like we had nothing in common anymore. By the time Facebook came around, I had all but forgotten about Artie and never even thought to look him up. Artie was no more than a distant memory, and that was until I moved into my new home, and I was beyond shocked to find out that my neighbor was actually him. At first, it was amazing to see my old friend. We connected right away, and I was in shock that he lived back on this side of the United States. When we were kids, they moved to the East Coast. It was just very surprising that he now lives so close to where we grew up. I asked him what brought him back to this part of the country, and he simply just said that he liked the West Coast more. After I got moved in, I invited Anthony with the big 20 buckarino says I had a night guard for 3 years or 2. Oh, I don't really remember things sucked to sleep with, and apparently trying to had a balloon hovering. Oh, China had a balloon hovering over, I believe, Montana for spying. Interesting. That's okay. Now they got all of TikTok to do that now. But thank you for the 20, Anthony. And Master Yoda with the 5 says, what software do you use for the ambient background noise, music in your narrations? Also, what mic do you utilize for narrations? Yeah, so I don't make the music. Other artists will make it. The person that does my sound remastering for the podcast, his name is Enect, or Simon in the past, and he uses FL Studio to make a lot of his dark ambient stuff, but I'm sure there's a lot of various nips and knobs that he uses to make things work. And then the mic that you're hearing me in right now is a Neumann TLM mic. I forget what the number is, but then the one that you're hearing me during videos is the H4n Pro. It's kind of like a field recorder, but hey, gets the job done. And thank you, Matt. Thank you, Yoda, for the 5. And Amelia with the 5 says, that's so weird someone mentions the balloons. I'm writing a paper on it right now. Crazy stuff. Oh, on the spy balloon stuff? Weird. That is kind of strange. After I got moved in, I invited Artie over. For a couple of beers to catch up. When he showed up that night, he came with 2 of his friends, a man named Scott and Scott's girlfriend. Her name was Jane. I thought it was a little rude that Artie showed up with people without asking me first. I didn't care and would have been okay with it. It's just really the principle of the matter. The 3 of them started acting weird as soon as they were inside. Scott and Jane were fascinated with all my stuff in my living room. Their eyes were zooming around my house, and they looked like they weren't even on the same planet as me. It was like they were taking a mental inventory of everything in my home. Every few minutes, I would notice Scott and Jane whispering to each other. Call me crazy if you will, but I had a bad feeling brewing in my stomach. Eventually, I brought up video games to Artie. I asked if he still played any games. He looked disgusted, and then laughed to himself. In an arrogant and condescending voice, he said, No way, man. I stopped playing video games when I was like 12. That stuff's for kids. I laughed out of habit and tried to mirror his attitude. I leaned back in my chair and said, Oh man, I must have missed the memo when I was 12. Well, not only do I still play, but I actually work on games for a living. Everyone in the room shared a small laugh. It was a burst of awkward laughter, if I'm being honest. I will say, though, after sharing that bit of news, the mood in the room changed quite a bit. They all seemed very interested in what I had to say, and specifically what I did. Scott was asking very specific questions, like if the computer that I had in the room was the computer I used for work, and it was. I worked at a studio as my main source of income, but I spent a lot of my time working on my home computer, and I'm working on my own indie game on my machine in the spare time. I shared all those details and much more with Artie, Scott, and Jane, and we continued to hang out for a little while longer, and then we called it a night. The next day, I saw Artie outside, and I waved him. Oh shit! See, this is... Oh my god. I gotta, like, play the song in my head. It's like those awkward music videos where they get rid of the music and it's just like the dancers, like, in their shoes, like, squeaking on the floor, like, it's in the street. Without the music, it makes it kind of weird. But Anthony Esposito with a big $50 donation as well says, perfect understanding of what my voice text said. I want pancakes. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Yeah, the voice to text, man. It'll betray you every time. But thank you, Anthony. Good to see you, and I hope you're doing all right. And Jensian says, always nice to see everyone here as well. Hiya! Hiya! Play the music with my phone. I wish I had it. Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. I need to fix the music. Am I not? Is my rendition of it not quite up to snuff? Jensen, you play RuneScape? When do you play RuneScape? We continued to hang out for a little while longer, and then we called it a night. The next day I saw Artie outside, and I waved to him while I was heading to my car to run some errands. We waved, he waved. He waved, but he looked frustrated about something. That night I stayed in and worked on my game all night. A little after 2 a.m. I got an alert on my phone that someone was at my door. I had a motion camera that was on the side of my front door, as well as a Ring camera on the doorbell. I pulled up the video and I couldn't believe my eyes. There were 3 people on my front steps. All 3 were wearing masks and had hoods on. These were the masks that you would wear to the doctors, not like Halloween masks. They looked like they were deliberating about something. 2 of them were standing in the background, and one of them was directly in front of the door. The one in front of the door turned around completely, so his back was facing the camera now. He was concealing something in the back of his waistband. He grabbed the handle of it and then let it go, and from that little action, I was able to tell exactly what he was concealing. Finally, he turned back once again and grabbed the doorknob. He turned the doorknob a few times, testing to see if it was locked, and thank God it was. He took a step back as if he were deciding his next move, and that's when one potential intruder noticed the Ring camera. The person in the back yelled, "Wait," and they pointed to the camera. It was a woman's voice that yelled, "Wait." The intruder in front bent over and stared directly into the camera. Even with the mask on, it was obvious. The intruder directly in front of my camera was Artie, which led me to believe the other 2 were his friends, Scott and Jane, that I met earlier. His eyes got wide as if though he knew he was caught. Scott and Jane turned and ran in the opposite. Aren't they next door neighbors? Super Bowl prediction? I'm predicting probably the Eagles are going to win. I mean, but it would be interesting to see what's his name finally pull it out. I mean, what year is it for him in the NFL? Let's see. Patrick Mahomes. I really wasn't paying attention to their season at all, because I guess they didn't have a lot of but they are just clutch. He's just one of those guys that works well under pressure. Patrick Mahomes, what year is he? He's an American football quarterback, National Football League. He's the son of a Major League Baseball player. 2017 to present. Wait, really? Has it really been that long? 17. Wow. He's gotten close, though. Why did Joel cross the street? Please, enlighten us. What's good with that green comet? Where's that at? What? What's Super Bowl all about? You never heard of the Super Bowl? You've never heard of it? Joel, tonight there was a comet that was discovered just recently. Do you know at all what time it will come? Now, let me check. Time of comet tonight. What time's the comet, guys? Final chance to see once in a lifetime rock fly by Earth tonight. Win the spot. A green comet that was recently identified will be visible from Earth tonight for the first time in 50,000 years. The Stone Age was the last time it was visible in the night sky. The once-in-a-lifetime comet was found on March 2nd, 2022 by astronomers using the Wide Field Survey camera of the Zwicky Transient Facility at the Palomar Observatory in San Diego County, California. The name of the comet refers to its blazing green trail, which is caused by a chemical reaction between the comet's diatomic carbon molecules and ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The comet will reach its zenith in the sky at about 9:45 p.m. on February 2nd above the northern horizon, according to the astronomy blog In the Sky. Shortly after dusk, it's meant to initially appear, and just before 6 a.m., it will vanish. Oh, wait. According to plans, the comet will designation C2022 E3 ZTF per NASA. I don't know. Did that make sense as far as the time? The comet will reach its zenith in the sky at about 9:45 p.m. Is that EST or what's the northern horizon? I assume they mean EST. I don't fucking know. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. It didn't really specify where you're supposed to be. How do they know this? It sounds like they just observed it. Sounds like they just observed it back in March or something of last year. And I'm sure, like, after observing so many... I mean, it's all math, I guess. You just plug in the numbers based on pre-existing variables. It's 7:44 in Washington State. I hope they meant PST because it's already 10:44. I know, yeah, I guess we... Well, I mean, it's supposedly supposed to be still visible till 6 a.m. So maybe technically it's out there right now, just chilling. I don't know. Coke or Sprite? I do like Sprite, but I do like Coke too. How do they know it was 50,000 years ago? Oh, true. How do they know? Yeah, you would think you'd be able to, like, work something backwards, right? Maybe based on... Oh, you know, I guess you would just be able to infer that it's 50,000 years ago based on its current trajectory. And then based on that same math that they would use to tell when you could see it, they could also determine that it's, like, continued trajectory in relation to the solar system. So then, presuming that trajectory, then you would just work backwards or whatever to determine how long it's probably been since it passed by. Because I guess everything kind of happens in just cycles and shit. Amelia with the 5s. It says just past midnight, but that may have been, like, this morning from what I'm reading. Oh, shit. So we may have missed it already. Whatever. I mean, I feel like learning about this now. It just made me sad. When are you and Lazy Masquerade collab again? Hopefully soon. I don't know. What should we collab on? Should I just get him involved in another story? The Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2019. Did they? Did they? How do I forget that? I thought that was Tom Brady. I know they went to the Super Bowl. How many times? Oh, yeah, there's... I don't... How did I miss that? Oh, yeah, with the Bengals. Or no, as they play their 5th straight against the Bengals. When was that? Dude, how do I forget that? Weird. Won the Super Bowl in 2020, defeating the 49ers in a come-from-behind fashion, then lost the next year to Tom Brady with the Buccaneers in Tampa. Huh. Dude, that's weird. I vaguely remember the 49. Damn, yeah, I don't fucking remember at all. That's weird. Oh, well. Joel and Nick Crowley collab when? I love Nick Crowley. That'd be cool. Yeah, it's just tough, like... You know, as you get bigger, it's like how would I approach someone like him, you know? Like, do I just say, hey, you want me to read a few lines in your upcoming documentary or whatever kind of content he makes, you know? I mean, I guess that would be that easy, but I actually find that it's kind of like harder to like network with people as time has gone on. Any new Skinwalker stories? Perhaps down the line. It would be sick to collab with Mr. Nightmare, but hey, if it never happens, it never happens. His eyes got wide as if he knew that he was caught. Scott and Jane turned and ran in the opposite direction of Artie's house. Artie took a few steps back, then came back to the door and shook the handle aggressively, trying one last time to get inside. He said something under his breath that I couldn't understand, and then he also ran. I called the police, gave them the footage, and reported every detail to them. Artie didn't come home for days, probably because he knew that he was going to get caught. After a couple of days, I finally saw him sneaking into his own home. After a couple of days, I finally saw him sneaking into his own house. I called the police, who showed up quickly. It turns out, after I reported Artie to the police, they were able to connect the dots to an entire string of home invasions. The nail in the coffin for Artie and his accomplices was the fact that another house they robbed weeks ago also had a Ring camera, and they weren't wearing masks for that little outing. It was sad to see an old friend fall so far. Someone I had so many fond memories of turned and went down a completely dark path. Thankfully, that motion camera and Ring camera saved my life. Never assume that you're immune from robbery or worse based on where you live. I live in a very safe neighborhood with almost zero crime, and if it were not for my cameras, I may not be sharing this story today. Cameras everywhere. Which, I should probably get a Ring camera instead of that turret that I have set up and the landmines. General Grievous with the 5 says, got a new chocolate lab puppy last Monday. Never have I had to clean up so much potty puddles. So cute. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can imagine. Just pissing and shitting everywhere. I think the worst is when they just casually bite the shit out of, or rip the fuck up everything. It was pretty funny. My parents' dog, I think is getting close to 2, but I saw her as me and my dad were having a conversation, she just casually walked out of their room, down the hall, into the living room where we were, climbed up on the couch, and had a shoe in her mouth the whole time that she pulled from my dad, and was just getting ready to just comfortably rip the shit out of it like it was a fucking pig ear, you know what I mean? And it's just so funny how she just didn't think that was an issue at all. She's like, oh yeah, this is my favorite thing to destroy. Old friends. Anybody ever have any really bad friends that just absolutely destroyed their sense of trust? I don't know. If I get a dog ever, I really feel like I'd want to take it to classes and stuff to train it, just because, God, how cool would that be to just have an immediately trained, I mean, it would take a while, but just to have a dog that's actually trained. And because my parents, she's a sweetheart, but they just don't discipline her at all, and it's been nearly 2 years and she's still just anytime you come in, it's just jump up on you and throw you down the steps, all that kind of shit. A dog person or cat person? I mean, I have a cat and I love them, but I love dogs more. They're just more approachable for the most part. I have friends who have cats as well, and it's it's nice to see them, but cats are kind of one of those things where it's hit or miss. They might be nice, but they also might be pieces of shit who give you diseases because they bite you out of nowhere. Even when Pradeep gets mad, his bite is just he doesn't really bite. He just puts his mouth on your hand to be hey, don't. And then that's it. I have a friend that invited me up for dinner, and when I got there, nothing was cooked, and she asked me to babysit. Well, that dude, I mean, that doesn't sound like a great friend. Sounds like you were tricked. You were trick-seed. My English accent sounds like the northern part. Interesting. From, Liverpool. I'm from Liverpool, and I swim in a big disgusting pool full of liver. You had a friend who talked crap about you in your journal and then made me read it. They made you read it? Jesus, that's... Instead of just, like, telling you how they felt, they're like, okay, I've been planning on this. I feel like that would be the worst way to see it written in a journal, because it would be, like, borderline poetic how much they dislike somebody, you know? They can't even, like, hold, you know... They can't even, you know, because if they were to tell you in person, they probably would, like, hold back what they say. We're over months of time, too. Geez, so this is, like, some type of, This is some type of build-up, I guess. Was it just them complaining? They're saying, Hannah's too fucking pretty. I'm gonna kill her. I'm so fucking sick and fucking tired of her wearing leather when we go out. Makes me look bad. All right. The hardest part of moving to a town for people like me is making friends. Making friends in general is something I struggle with. Unfortunately, I am a bit of... Unfortunately, I am a bit on the awkward side, and I'm not afraid to admit that. When my job forced me to move hundreds of miles from my hometown, I was sad, but I couldn't pass up the chance. The work I do is important, and it pays very well. My logic was that I would move away, make some money, and then move back to my hometown in a couple of years when my contract was completed. The first month in my new town was tough. After work, I sort of just went home and played video games and watched everything I could, but it was only a matter of time until loneliness crept its ugly head around. I eventually discovered a comic book store that was only about 5 minutes away from my new house. One thing about me is that I love comics. I've been reading Marvel comics since I was old enough to read, and in fact, probably even longer than that. I used to be obsessed with the illustrations in comics before I could even read, and I remember grabbing my brother's comics and just staring at the covers before I could even understand what the words even said. Finding this bookstore wouldn't cure my loneliness, but the comfort of comics would be a nice distraction for me. I started going a couple of times a week and got hooked once again on all my favorite comics. One day, while I was perusing the new comic book section, I grabbed the latest Fantastic Four comic, and right at that moment, I was approached by an interesting-looking man. He was tall and very skinny. He had these thick black glasses and shoulder-length blonde hair. He had a beard, but it wasn't a good one. It was all patchy and all over the place. I moved out of the way thinking that he wanted to get into that section, but instead he wanted to talk to me. In this thick southern accent, he said, "Hey man, you a fan of the Fantastic Four?" I smiled and nodded. I'm not the greatest with random interactions like that. "Dude, you're gonna love it. He really knows how to write the F4. Name's Pete, by the way. Not Peter Parker, though." Then he laughed, as I did too. If anybody did it... Yummers, patchy beard. You like the accent? Yeehaw, son of a bitch. You son of a frickin' bitch. Not you, I just wanted to say that. You know, this tea's good, but sometimes it gives me the sniffies. If anybody doesn't know, Peter Parker is the real name of the man underneath the Spider-Man mask. I looked at Pete and extended my hand and said, "Nice to meet you, Pete." Then I gave him my name. From that strange and very awkward interaction, Pete and I became friends. We hung out several times a week and just talked about comics, Star Wars, video games, and basically anything nerdy that I was interested in. It was like this guy was created in a lab specifically to be my friend. For months this continued, and I was happy with my new friend. One day, when we were leaving the comic book shop, Pete said, "You know, I was thinking it was a sign, you moving here and stuff, walking into that shop that day. It's like you're me, but from the multiverse." which is another comic book reference that Pete pulled out of nowhere. I just laughed and went along with it, and I did that a lot with Pete. Not too much longer after that comment, I noticed that Pete was wearing the same clothes as me. I would wear my Fantastic Four shirt once a week at least, and before I knew it, so did Pete. I would wear a Darth Vader shirt, and then the next day, Pete would have the same one. I'm not saying people can't have the same shirts, it just seemed awfully strange, and out of nowhere, he had the same shirts as me. Well, that sounded weird. You have to be the throat goat. You have to be. Goddamn throat goat, man. Tell you what. I kind of sound like Theo Vaughn a little bit. Lynn with a 2 says, Lurkin doing homework. Thanks for the endless company. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. And good to see you. What's poppin'? Have you tried Good Earth sweet and spicy tea? Good stuff. I feel like I have a spicy one up there somewhere. Oh no, that was for like a recipe. Never mind. Yeah, it sounds like Boomhauer. Goddamn son of a bitch. You know, that dang old boom, man. Freaking Peter Parker, man. Was drumming around. Zoom, zoom. Spider-Man. Hearing Joel with Southern accent like playing Red Dead Redemption. Exactly. Dutch, goddamn son of a bitch. I'm not saying people can't have the same shirts, it just seemed awfully strange that out of nowhere he had the same shirts as me. Right around this time, he cuts his hair and shaved his beard, and if you're keeping track at home, I have short hair, and Right around this time, he cuts his hair and shaves his beard, and if you're keeping track at home, I have short hair and I'm clean shaven. When we hung out the day he got his hair cut, he said, "Now we definitely look like we could be the same person. Do you think maybe we actually are? Like, maybe we really are from the multiverse or something?" It didn't seem like one of Pete's comic book references anymore. This seemed weird and just off for some reason. I just dismissed his comment and started talking about food or something. It made me uncomfortable and I just kind of wanted to redirect the conversation. That night I couldn't help but think about it. I may not be articulating it well, but everything about the latest comment was just off. His mannerisms, the way he looked, the way he talked, everything was just different. I thought about texting him that night and telling him that I felt uncomfortable, but I decided that I'm being paranoid and I left it alone. The next day I was getting ready to leave for work, and when I opened the door, I could have sworn that I saw Pete's car, but as I said, I was being paranoid and just ignored my feelings. Pete had texted me to make sure that we were still on for the comic book store after work, and I told him, yeah, even though I didn't want to. I worked for a few hours, but I had myself all worked up for some reason. I asked my supervisor if I could leave early because I wasn't feeling well, and she let me go just several hours into my shift. When I got home, the first thing I noticed was that the front door inside the screen door was open. I could never leave that door open. I have thousands of dollars worth of collectibles, comic books, and Funko Pops, and I approached the door slowly and I entered quietly. I could hear movement coming from my office, which is where all those valuables I just mentioned are located. I snuck to the side door and peered inside the room, and in the closet, rummaging through boxes, was Pete. I barged in the room and said, "Pete? What are you doing?" He jumped and started to stutter a little bit. I was just trying to see if you had a certain comic, man. I was going to surprise you." I looked around the room. All the drawers in my desk were open and my computer was open. My social security card. Freaking Pete, caught in 4K, touching his goddamn Funko Pops. Anybody touches my Funko Pops, I kill them. I kill them on the spot, even if it's just like a casual date. Just they're taking a peek, like, "Oh, what are these? Don't fucking touch it! Don't fucking touch my Funko Pops! Oh, fucking kill you, son of a bitch!" Okay. Sorry. Sorry, that's okay. It's alright. Anyways, let's get dinner. Do I have any Funko Pops? I have one Funko Pop, actually, and it's, it was a, it's, what's his name? Nibbler. It's Nibbler from Futurama. I just thought, I don't know, something about Nibbler. I kind of like characters that don't have a lot of like crazy depth or dialogue, you know. That's why I like the Hulk. Something about Nibbler's just fun because he just, I don't know, he just eats shit and gobbles it down and shits out like a black hole size little poop. Well, it's small because it's so dense. You don't know what to do with all of them now? Don't worry, they'll be worth at least 1.1% more 100 years from now. You have a Hey Arnold Funko Pop? Nice. Nibbler's an intelligent talking... Oh, that's true. Yeah, he does eventually reveal that he's, like, very smart. A Jeffrey Dahmer Funko. Do they actually have that? See ya, Rosa. Peace out. Yeah, I mean, Funko Pops, I mean, have been out for so long, and I was never a huge... I don't know. They just look silly. You know, I mean, it's cool to collect them if you want to, but I mean, I just look at them and I'm like, they seem really easy to make. You know what I mean? Almost like a knockoff toy of like something more involved that you could get. 7-leaf clover with the 2. Thank you, 7. And Anthony Esposito with the 2 says, dude, I have the original Rick and Morty Funko Pop or like DVD or like McDonald's toy. You prefer Nendoroids? They're just so pricey. Let's see what a Nendoroid looks like. Nendoroids. Never heard of them before. Oh, yeah, they look like a little bit more... Oh, I think I had one of these, and it was somebody got me one for like Tracer. And I remember one, I had it on my desk, and then I think I slammed my desk and it fell down and she like broke in half or something like that. It was symbolic, honestly. She broke right down the camel toe. Right down the center. Anthony, oh, you got the Funko Pop of Rick and Morty, nice. It's gonna be worth more than gold soon. Oh, Amiibos, oh yeah. Crazy Cat always ignored. What did I ignore you? What'd you say earlier? Let me look. Freddie Mercury Pop, nice. Dude, I dressed up as Freddie Mercury once for Halloween. It was pretty sick. Halloweeny. All right. Hello, Pradeep. Sorry. I know it's gross, but I gotta do it. I don't know why my like just throat, like, I don't know if it's just being down here in this fucking area. Maybe because over in the laundry zone, Pradeep takes a big fucking cat shit. And then maybe it just like wafts over into my nose and I start to die. I mean, I can't smell it now, but maybe there's some sort of brain-eating bacteria that he shits out. Hall with a 10. Those impressions were fucking legendary. Glad I made it to the stream. I'll be able to donate a little more next paycheck. No worries, Hall. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good to see you, Mold. Maybe Mold. I should visit England. Where should I go in England? How far away is England? A skip, hop, and a jump. Across the pond. That'd be kind of sick instead of like taking a plane to England, you could just take a submarine. It probably would not be as fast, unfortunately. My social security card was in that desk, and to the right of Pete was a box, and inside the box was a handful of my rarest comics, some of them being well over $5,000, and fuck. To the right of Pete was a box, and inside the box was a handful of my rarest comics, some of them being well over Why can't I say the word? Some of them being worth well over $5,000, and some personal financial documents were in the box. Listen, I can't remember what Pete sounds like. These sons of bitches, piece of crap, motherfuckers, down in Tennessee. Okay. Listen, man, He paused, and I started to look around the room. Oh, fuck, no he didn't. He paused and started to look around the room. What I had just noticed, though, he wasn't talking with that... Oh, what? He wasn't talking with the accent? What? It's nice to know now. Wait, Peter, what are you doing? He jumped and started a little bit. Trying to see if you had a certain comic. We're going to surprise... Okay. Okay, so I guess this is where it stops, maybe. Listen, man, He paused and started to look around the room. What I had just noticed, though, is he wasn't talking with that accent anymore. Before I could process my next thought, Pete grabbed the lamp that was on my desk, ripped it from the wall, and threw it at me as hard as he could. It hit me on the head, and when I bent over in pain, he punched me in the face as hard as he could, and I dropped to the ground. I was dizzy and everything was foggy as I tried to get to my feet. I heard his car start and peel away. When I regained my focus, I noticed that he took that box of comics and documents. I called the police right away and gave them Pete's information, and that's when I realized Pete wasn't a friend at all. I never got his last name, mainly because I just never really thought about it or cared. I don't have social media, so I never even bothered to ask for his. We texted, but I didn't realize his phone was just some cheap track phone. The cops informed me that Pete most likely wasn't his name. Inside the box were a couple of credit cards that I owned as well, as I didn't bring them with me to work or anything like that. I used one to get gas, but that was the only one it was used before I canceled it. Wait. But that was the only time I see. What's up Pete's ass anyway? I guess probably a Funko Pop or something. Just all lubed up. Guess which Funko Pop is up Pete's rectum? Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought Pete was gonna like take over his life, and I kind of appreciate this ending more because it doesn't sound as ridiculous. It actually sounds like it's plausible that like you were leaning one way, and maybe that's still the case. I mean, we still have more to read here, but He used one to get gas, but that was the only time it was used before I was able to cancel it. The cops informed me that whoever Pete really was, he knew somehow that I had money. He got to know me and used our friendship to basically steal everything I had. Thankfully, he didn't get much from me, but he did get those comics that are worth in the thousands, and they do mean more to me sentimentally than the money. To this day, I have no idea who Pete was and where my comics ever went. I was able to get one of my comics back only a week after this incident happened, though. He had sold it to some pawn shop, and the guy wasn't very nice about the entire situation. What was most horrific about the situation was that he told the pawn shop employee that his name was my name, and the pawn shop employee had to double take because he thought it was me when I went into the shop to try and actually look for the comic. Some people out there are truly scary and have very insidious intentions. It's scary to think about the people you consider close in your life and what they may think about you. Pete was FBI. Everybody knows the FBI are obsessed with comic books. They're a bunch of nerds sitting on their computers all day. Alright, gotta bounce. Can't wait for tomorrow's upload. Thanks, Bryn Santos. Am I saying that right? Sorry. Or maybe it's Brinny. Hi, kitty. Alright. Story numero 3. More comic shops are getting broken into once folks realize some of the valuable books and some of them. Yeah, that would suck. You'd have to like have everything behind, like, not just the shop being locked up, but like maybe all the display cases able to be closed at the end of the day, kind of like Walmart or some shit, you know? You want to hear Pradeep meow? He was here, but now he's on the other side of the roof. Probably taking a big stinky shite. I apologize in advance for how I may sound writing this, as I have yet to try and put this into text. I'm looking for just general advice, I suppose. And first, I must preface this by saying that I currently live with my girlfriend, and I do love her. However, I feel that... I don't know, it's like a certain phlegm in the like throat and nose that I just can't, like, it's after I narrate or talk for too long, I can't. Maybe it's just I'm more aware of it. Phlegm. Bong time. It's been a bong time since I've seen you. If I was hitting a bong, you would know, I feel like, because you would hear the lighter, wouldn't you? Unless there was smoke just like chilling in it. It was an electronic bong. Nettle more with a solution. I mean, yeah, I guess I could do a neti pot, but like the annoying thing about that is sometimes like the fluid kind of gets like stuck in my sinuses till like later. Do a high stream. I guess I could maybe do that for like a playing a video game or some shit. First, I must preface this by saying I currently live with my girlfriend, and I do love her. However, I fear that my girlfriend is not the same woman anymore. We've been together for nearly 10 years, and we started dating in our senior year of high school and have been together ever since. We both went away to separate colleges and stayed together that entire time. After graduating, we moved in together and have been happily. How would you not know if it was your fucking girlfriend, unless they mean like personality-wise? After graduating, we moved in together and have been happy until recently. I know what most people will assume because I brought my concerns to friends, who all say the same thing or some version of the same things. God. Pradeep tries so fucking hard to interrupt the stream. It's fucking wild. It's like he doesn't act like this any other time when I'm at this computer. But as soon as I start streaming, he'll just start ripping the fuck out of, like, chairs and shit. I know what most people will assume because I brought my concerns to my friends, who all say the same thing or some version of the same things. Most say things like, she's probably with someone else, she's doing drugs, or my personal favorite, she doesn't love you anymore, man. If it were any of those, at least I would have clarification. But I assure you, it's not. She's different now, like she's hiding something, but not someone else. Oh my god, dude. It's like every time, man. Like every time. It just goes bonkers. It's kind of funny though, because my mom got him like a huge bag of like balls that make jingle jangle noises, and he's utilized essentially every single one of them to their maximum capacity. Dre up with the two sup. What's going on? Thank you for the two. He's got the zoomies. He does kind of get the zoomies around this time. I know what most people will assume because I have brought my concerns to friends who all say the same thing or versions of the same things. Most say things like, she's probably with somebody else, she's doing drugs, or my personal favorite, she just doesn't love you anymore, man. If it were any of those, at least I would have clarification, but I assure you it's not. She's different now, like she's hiding something, but not someone else. It's almost as if, though, she's hiding something much darker, and I'll start at the beginning to try to remember as much as possible. Recently, I got home from work earlier than usual. Coming home early is not something that's rare for me, as my job has somewhat irregular hours. When I got home, she was in the shower. She didn't hear me come inside, but I heard her as soon as I got close to the bathroom. She was grunting and sounded angry. She kept yelling a series of curse words and continued to sound angry and upset about something. I knocked on the door to ask if she was all right, and the cursing stopped right away. She took a moment to respond and then said everything was okay. When she got out of the shower, which took a very long time, I may add, she looked anxious and extremely tense. I asked one more time if she was okay, and sounding annoyed, she said yes and told me not to ask again. I backed off, figuring she just needed space for something. She's not the type of person to jump down anyone's throat. She's never short with me or anyone else, and after knowing her for almost 20 years and dating for almost 10, I can say with certainty that this was not her at all. The next morning I woke up for work and showered. When I got into the shower, I noticed that there was something on the ledge where we kept the soap bottles. It kind of looked like dried blood. I picked up the bottle and there was a red ring that formed under the bottle. I started to look at it a little closer and I noticed dried residue in several of the nooks and crannies around the shower area. I was curious, but not tense or worried or anything like that. That afternoon when I got home, one of her newer friends was over at the house. Kind of a strange woman named Shauna. I'll be honest, I don't like Shauna. I don't know exactly where they met. Maybe she was a coworker, maybe she was one of my girlfriend's customers. I don't know. All I know is that she just rubbed me the wrong way. She would talk constantly about getting into trouble when she was younger. Your cat's fit and strong. Pretty strong. Yeah, she might be a secret agent. That's probably what's going on. All your friends are married with kids. And how does that make you feel? She would talk constantly about getting into trouble when she was younger, and all the wild stuff she did was... God damn it. She would talk constantly about getting into trouble when she was younger, and all the wild stuff she did when she was in her 20s. Shauna was most likely in her mid to late 30s if I had to guess. So that afternoon, when I walked inside, my girlfriend and Shauna were acting weird. I noticed the laptop on the kitchen table, and when I got inside, they shut the laptop and seemed like they were trying to get me to leave the kitchen. I know something was wrong. I could see it on my girlfriend's face, but I didn't dare ask again. I went into the bedroom and shut the doors so I could change from my work clothes. I could hear Shauna whispering something to my girlfriend, and she sounded tense. Next thing I know, I heard a door slam, and when I went back out there, Shauna was pulling out of my driveway. My girlfriend is normally outgoing and bubbly as can be, but now she seemed more like a zombie or someone who hasn't slept in days. It became clear to me that she was hiding something. I truly didn't think that she was with someone else. It's not in her character. Ordinarily, I wouldn't snoop. We don't have that kind of relationship. But when I opened the laptop, her last page was still open. She was looking at weapons to purchase, and the website was not something I recognized. It looked shady as could be. Something to note about her, she's very anti-gun and anti-weapon in general, so to be on a page like this is extremely out of character. And this was what prompted me to look at the last few pages in the search history, and it was strange, to say the least. There were several news articles about people who were missing, and 2 web pages with directions to what appeared to be in the middle of nowhere. As the days passed, I noticed that she became more and more of a husk of her former self. No laughing, no smiles, no intimacy, no semblance of my girlfriend. I started to notice weird things, like her shoes were extremely muddy, her phone was almost always turned off, and her computer mysteriously broke the day after I... Ruh-roh. Oh yeah, maybe she's addicted to meth and killing people for meth. She's a hit woman. A meth hit woman. She's in a cult. A meth cult. What's up, John Bravo? Jonathan Bravo. And her computer mysteriously broke the day after I searched the history. I saw Shauna one more time a few days ago when I got home from work. Her car was outside running, and it looked full of luggage. I walked inside, and Shauna looked angry. She looked at me, then back at my girlfriend. She sighed, walked out of the house, and peeled off in her car. When she left, my girlfriend was as white as a ghost and sat on the couch, and I asked one last time if she was okay, and she said, "I will be soon. Shauna just... Well, it doesn't matter. I will be soon. I promise." I tried to unpack that statement a million times, and I still am not 100% sure what she meant. It is now a few days removed from when Shauna left, and my girlfriend is still not herself. My girlfriend is taking personal time off, so she hasn't left the house in days. My first thought was that maybe Shauna and her had something romantic together, but when I asked her about it, she denied it fiercely. After a couple of battles, she told me to leave it alone and stop asking, and the eyes that looked at me, I just barely recognized them anymore. I don't know what's happening, but my girlfriend, my best friend, is lost somewhere in her mind, and not the same woman I have loved for so long. If anybody reading this could please just give me some of your thoughts. I've done everything I can think of, and I'm worried that she may have done something horrible. If this story progresses any more, or I have any more news, I'll try to update you over email, let's read, and as of right now, I'm grasping at straws, and praying that my girlfriend bounces back soon, and that my worst thoughts are nothing more than dark fantasies. Fantasies. As of right now, I'm grasping at straws, and praying that my girlfriend As of right now, I'm grasping at straws, and praying that my girlfriend bounces back soon, and that my worst thoughts are nothing more than dark fantasies plaguing my mind. Too much plague on my mind. Too much plague on my mind. Do I ever do multi-part stories? Sometimes some of the Reddit stuff, but to be able to like differentiate like updates, Because I think people that email me stuff like are under the assumption that like I'll be able to find their update, or I'm going to be looking for their update on something, but I feel like it's hard enough to like compile stories just on individual threads. So I mean, maybe I could go back and look for stuff, but it usually already has to like be pre-established updates on like a Reddit thread for me to like read those updates. And most of the time updates are like the dumbest thing on Reddit. They're just like a waste of time. Word. Word. Word, turd. If I ever get pulled over by the cops and they say, "Sir, wait here while we run some checks," and they start to walk, I say, "Word, turd." And usually they let me go after that. It's like a kind of an unknown trick with police officers. It's like a little secret language we have. I spent the early parts of my life on the wrong side of the law. I never finished school since I dropped out of high school in 11th grade, a decision that I always regretted. When I was 20 years old, I was arrested for the first time, and unfortunately, it would not be the last. During my entire 20s, I was in and out of jail. On my 30th birthday, I decided to make a change in my life. I realized that I had no friends and no direction. I tried different churches and clubs in my community to see if I could find my calling in life. During my search for meaning, I found Barry. He was exactly what I needed in life, especially at this point. I had met Barry at some church event. Barry said that he identified. Barry. Eugenia, take care. Peace out. Barry said that he identified as agnostic, which I found strange, being that it was a church event, but he said that he came to all the church events because of the community aspect. He claimed that all the people were outrageously friendly, and there was no other place in the world to get this loving camaraderie. He was right about that. The people were so friendly at this place. I'm not good at religion, so I'm not even sure what kind of church this was. All I know is that the people were fantastic. Everybody loved Barry, even the church officials. Nobody cared about his stance on faith, they just loved him anyways. Barry was great to these people. He was constantly helping in any way he could, and he would donate clothes, food, and most importantly, his time. I'm not sure how Barry made his money, but he had a lot of it and used it for good. He would constantly give to the poor and encourage everyone to come to the events at the church. He would serve food to the less fortunate on the front lines. He would drive to very low-income areas of the city and help in any way that he could. Barry was, by all accounts, an amazing human being. In my search for meaning, obviously, I gravitated right to Barry. With no judgment in his character, Barry took me under his wing, and I kind of became his partner. I helped with everything that Barry did in the community. It seemed like being with him almost cleared my name. Nobody cared who I was in the past, they only cared about me in the present. This life continued for a couple of years before me. Couple of years. This life be going on for a couple of years. I don't know why I'm doing that, but... cacao farmer. Hey, welcome to the Butter Sock Cult. You now have access to bonus chocolate content. Do you actually farm cacao? Because that's pretty cool. Oh, dude. Do they have, like, cacao seeds where you can dip them in chocolate and eat them? So it's like cacao within cacao. What's the top reason people take drugs, knowing it will make them lose their minds? I think it's the insidious aspect of drugs that people don't realize, you know, and I'm not saying that's always the case, but like if anybody ends up on like in a life of really bad drug use, it from what it seems like, it just sort of like they're not like a healed person prior, right? So they're looking to like either fill their void with like some type of fun, with something, sort of an escapism, but then they're just kind of get with the bad crowd, as a lot of people say, and then, they try something that becomes, physically addictive very, very quickly, and then their life just starts to kind of unfold around them, and there's no way for them to sort of get away from it because the bodily addiction is just too powerful, Like that story we read on 4chan the other day. I mean, I don't know if it was true or not. I hope it wasn't, but it was about that guy like breaking into a house to like steal money because it was jonesing for meth so much, and then it resulted in him like trying to kill her, killing that girl because he was trying to keep her quiet and not get in trouble or whatever. Same with cacao. If you ever take too much cacao, it just leads you to just like swimming through the fucking Hershey Highway. Did you hear about the streamer Atriac watching AI porn and getting caught not long ago? Yeah, that was a really weird thing. Like, I don't know why he was crying about it. Like, who gives a shit? You watch porn. I mean, it's unfortunate that like it was made of other streamers and stuff, because that's not cool either. Like just taking someone's identity and like creating false media of them that probably makes them really uncomfortable too. But like him coming on the stream and like crying in like as if though they just like killed somebody or did something like really fucking bad. It's just like, what are you doing, you goofball? I don't know. To me, it just seemed like they were using that as a way to like leverage attention because, hey, look at that. I'm talking about it right now, Someone who had never heard of this person before. So I don't give a fuck, dude. So you can jerk off to whatever you want as long as it's not illegal and you stay the fuck away from me. I don't know. You keep that jerk off over there. You keep it over there. You stay away. You stay off this bus. This life continued for a couple of years for me. Barry became Barry. Oops. This life continued for a couple of years for me. Barry became more than a partner and, in fact, became an actual friend. When I had nowhere to live, Barry let me move into a small guest house. We'd wake up early, start our day, and just make our rounds in the city doing whatever we could, and Barry funded everything. This guy seemed to have an endless supply of money, and I never questioned it. One afternoon, when we were doing some charity event, I noticed for the first time that Barry wasn't himself. This guy was always energetic and excited about life, but he seemed quiet, almost like he was on another planet. That night, we were heading back to his house, and I asked if he was all right, and all he did was take a deep breath, sigh, and just said he was fine. Clearly, something was wrong. That night, I looked out the windows of the guest house that sat just behind Barry's home. Barry. Crying on stream seems disingenuous. Absolutely, it's fucking corny as fuck. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And why would, and like, he had like a girlfriend in the background crying too, and I'm like, you see it at first, and you're like, holy shit, did these people like lose a kid or lose a dog or lose somebody, and they're like, I jerked off. I'm so sorry, Lord, please forgive me. And at that point, I could not forgive them. I had to send them to hell. I had to. It was my God-given right to judgeth them. What's your opinion on the Velma show? The one take that I feel like people haven't been making about the Velma show that I think is slightly unique to myself, because you guys have probably heard all of it at this point, is the fact that like the Scooby-Doo IP, right? The intellectual the stinky jinky the Scooby-Doo IP, the intellectual property of Scooby-Doo and all the characters therein, have consistently since the 1970s been kid shows, right? It's been kid shows. We got the Scooby-Doo one, we got the 13 Ghosts one, we got Scrappy-Doo, you know, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, that was fucking sick. And then, dude, some of the best ones where I thought, like, the series was kind of advanced, you know, kind of like becoming a little more mature. Dude, Zombie Island. Dude, how good was the fucking Zombie Island Scooby-Doo movie? That was, I would literally go watch that. I would, if somebody asked me, hey, I'm upstairs in your house, I broke in, do you want to watch Scooby-Doo Zombie Island? I would end the stream, I would grab my bat, but I would end the stream and go up there and watch it with them just because that movie is so fucking good. Now, granted, the Scooby-Doo movies did start to drop off over time, but I still think some of them were pretty solid. And what was the underlying factor, the consistent variable, the constant rather, sorry, the consistent variable, that doesn't make any sense. The constant was, it was a kid's show, you know, it was a kid's show, you know, like there has been times where Family Guy or, you know, Robot Chicken or, you know, stuff like that. Even Adult Swim itself has done parodies of Scooby-Doo that, you know, they put it in a more adult sense. They're like, that's one sick son of a bitch, Scoob, you know, and it's hilarious. That's great. But I guess I just don't understand what audience the Velma show was going for and why they had to do what they had to do utilizing the Scooby-Doo IP. You know what I mean? Because it's owned by Warner Brothers and all that kind of stuff. And also, why the fuck is Scooby-Doo not in it? Like, where's Scoobs? Mike Tyson's Mystery Machines is better. Dude, Mike Tyson's Mysteries is so fucking funny. If you guys ever want to watch a good show that essentially accomplished whatever Velma set out to do, but like way better, it's like adult Scooby-Doo. Mike Tyson's Mysteries, so fucking funny, so good. It's like a culmination of like some of the best talent ever. It's amazing. But I don't know, I just don't know what, like, I don't even really give a shit about the show, you know what I mean? But it's just like, what is this? Wasn't Scooby-Doo for les children, but now you're like grabbing it and turning it into this sort of amalgamation of nonsense, you know what I mean? And then the writing is as if though the people that wrote it like never once in their life have ever like disconnected themselves from the IV drip of Twitter. Like, is it like, that's what I understand. There's so many writers that just don't go outside. They don't go outside and then they get hired for shows, and I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, why just outside is so nice. There's green grass, there's sun, there's sometimes people. I know that's scary, but they're not bad sometimes. But yeah, so it is what it is. But I guess that's at the end of the day that's the big inconsistency, is like clearly it wasn't a kid's show, but why did they want to make it Scooby-Doo but not be a kid? Like, I don't like, it's really disrespectful, I think, to the Scooby-Doo IP as a whole. And also, it was kind of strange because you have the game, what's that game? The Multiverse or the Metaverse video game where it's like Super Smash Brothers, but it's all the characters from Warner Brothers. And you have, I think you have Scooby and Shaggy in it, right? And why are they in that, which is a Warner Brothers video game, but they're not in the Velma show? This is like a really pointless side thing, but I'm just curious. I'm like, is there like a legal contract where like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy as a whole exist almost in the canonical, like, legal fashion as separate entities within like a Warner Brothers subcontract that they can't be utilized in these sort of bastardization, you know, side plots? And it, you know, I guess at the very end of the day, I really wouldn't care if the show, because the animation looked beautiful, it looked really good. It's just that, like, it seems like a lot of shows are just being written from like a really strange sort of like vitriolic standpoint. Like they're coming at it from a point where they're on Twitter all day and they're mad. Their writers are just mad. They haven't spoken to another human being face to face in over 3 to 4 years. And this is the manifestation of what that kind of comes out to. And then it comes across like the fucking, the animator's desk, and they're just like, fuck it, dude, it's a paycheck. It's a living. And they're scribbling on a piece of paper. I don't know. Scooby-Doo is like Yogi Bear. Is he? Oh, in the IP sense or the legal sense? But Shaggy is in Velma under his birth name, Norval. Oh, okay, so he officially is Shaggy. I thought there was, like, something legal. Where's Scooby, though? Like, is he... Somebody made a good tweet the other day where it was, like, at the end, like, one of the characters should just be pregnant, and at the end they just, like, shits out Scooby-Doo, and they just don't explain anything, and that's it. Anyways... Can't wait for that shit to just be forgotten in the history of who cares. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's going to be. Like when you make a show like that, that's what you get. You're not going to, like, sure, you might be recognized as a show that's like universally everyone dislikes, but like that doesn't, like, sure, that might get you attention for a little bit, like in social media buzz. But if you don't make a good show, it's just like you're not going to have longevity. You're not going to get renewed on HBO Maximus, you know. It's just like whoever is the leadership over at these, like, companies writing these shows and are hiring these writers and leading these things, like, they must be literally high on crack. Like, they must be on crack, and they must see these things and just like, and they can't see reality quite the same way everyone else can, and they're just like, yup, let's go for it. I can't wait to hemorrhage a couple more $1 million just to get the Twitter hashtags rolling. Makes me feel, gets me off, gets my fucking rocks hard. It got renewed for season 2. Alright, we're just gonna move on, I think. That night, I looked out the windows of the guest house that sat just behind Barry's house. His lights were on, and the blinds were open, so I could clearly see inside of his house. The guest house sat probably 50 feet or so from the house, so even though I could clearly see in the house, I was still far enough away that I couldn't tell if he was okay. Maybe I just had a bad feeling, but I think my life of crime just gave me insight into when people were just going to break. I hit my breaking point a lot in life. It's what got me in trouble most of the time, and it just seemed like Barry was at that point today. I thought about it for a while, but I eventually decided to go check on him just to make sure that he was okay. The guy gave me so much, and I figured I at least owed him this. I made my way through the yard that separated the guest house and his house. When I got close to the house, I could hear him yelling. Oh, whoops. You forgot what Barry was doing. Barry's probably writing season 2 of Velma right now, and this is why he's so nervous, because he's like, we can't keep this going. We can't keep the charade going. They're going to find out. They're going to find out that I'm a fucking idiot. Oh my god. How about you talk about Rick and Morty now? Wubba lubba dub dub. When I got close to the house, I could hear yelling. It was Barry, and he was screaming. I started to sneak toward the house now to eavesdrop, I admit that. I got close enough to be able to hear him clearly. He must have been on the phone because I could only hear him and not anybody else. He sounded so rageful and angry, and I never heard him raise his voice before, and now he was screaming, swearing, saying things I still can't believe came out of his mouth. I sneaked to the side of the house so I could peer into one of the windows. I saw Barry, frantically pacing around the house, and he was indeed on the phone. I heard him clearly say, "I don't care. If you don't get this done, I'll find someone else who can. I don't deal with this crap day in and day out for no reason. Get this done immediately so I can finally get out of this hell." That's exactly what he said. Obviously, I have no idea what he meant by all of that in the moment. He hung up the phone and threw it at the wall as he continued to scream. With no notice, he turned and saw me looking through the window. I drove my car through his window. "Barry, I'm here to save you, Barry. Don't finish that script. Don't finish season 2. It's gonna be hell. He's like on the, yeah, he's on like all the writers are being like held at gunpoint. They're like, you will write season 2 and it will fucking suck. You will do that, it will fucking kill you and your whole fucking family. I can't. I just want to make something good, please. Something everybody likes. Please, God. I dove out of the way, but I was sure he saw me. I laid on the side of this house and I hoped he didn't hear the door open. Hoped I didn't hear the door open. Fuck. I laid on the side of his house and hoped that I didn't hear the door open. The hope only lasted a moment because the front door whipped open and I heard Barry screaming my name. I rose to my feet, embarrassed that I got caught snooping. Part of me figured that he would be okay because he was always so calm and patient with me, but I couldn't have been more wrong. The large middle-aged. Gonna take a quick nap, Georgie. Do it up. Do it. The large middle-aged man grabbed the collar of my flannel and pushed me against the house. He started screaming so loud into my face I could feel the spit hitting my cheek. After everything I did for you, I find you out here spying on my personal business. I was quiet. I didn't know what to say to him. I wanted to tell him that I was only over there to make sure he was all right, but I couldn't get the words out. He threw me to the ground and again shouted at me saying, "It was you, wasn't it? You're the one trying to get my money." I started to defend myself, claiming that I had no idea what he was talking about, which was true. When I started to get to my feet, he pushed me down again and kicked me in the face and yelled, "Stay here." Then he stormed back inside, slamming the door on his way in. The kick rocked me. I was dazed and saw stars in front of my eyes for a moment. I regained my focus and got to my feet again. I looked in the window and he was rummaging through a chest that he had in the room. He seemed to be grabbing something, but I wasn't sure what it was, but it sounded heavy. I ran back to the guest house, not wanting to take any chances. I grabbed a couple of personal items and ran into the woods that lined his property. I hid in the tree line and saw Barry wandering around the guest house and then eventually breaking down the door. He continued screaming my name and shouting for me to stop hiding, and he was indeed carrying something, but like before I couldn't exactly tell what it was. It was long and narrow and he was using it to knock back the doors. Finally, he reached the tree line. I was quietly making my way down the wooded area. Thankfully, he was shouting, so he couldn't hear me shuffling through the trees. I eventually made it to the road and ran as fast as I could as far as I could. I'd look back every few minutes but never saw him following me. When I got to a local convenience store, I asked if the store could please call the police for me, as I didn't have a cell phone at the time. When they showed up, I told them everything. I didn't really know if there was anything they could do, but I figured since Barry technically attacked me and then chased me, I did feel as if though I was in danger. The police showed up at his house, and the next thing I knew, he was arrested. I don't know what he was arrested for, as I was never informed for some reason, but when I googled his name, nothing comes up, which leads me to believe that Barry was actually a fake name. I spent years with this guy, and even lived just a few yards from his house, and never once led me to believe, and he never once. I never once thought that he was the writer. He was the lead writer of Velma, and that's why they arrested him, I think. They took him in for the death penalty. He's going away forever. He's going straight to hell. There he is, officer. Shoot him. I don't know. When are we gonna just have good? That's why I feel like anime is the only good shit anymore. Everybody just watch anime. You don't have to hear any of the Twitter bullshit. You can just a nice escapism into a world of just entertainment, and that's all people really want. That's all people really fucking want. What's my favorite anime? Probably Ghost in the Shell. or Death Note. My laugh reminds you of Sensei from Naruto. I spent years with this guy and even lived just a few yards from his house, and he never once led me to believe that he was hiding anything or even had a violent bone in his body. Whatever secret he had had finally collapsed on him. I have no idea if he intended on harming me more that evening, but the beating I received outside his house convinced me otherwise. Does anybody out there have any idea what Barry could have been doing or what he could have been hiding? I just want answers. Sometimes it's the best people that are hiding the darkest secrets. Poll? Oh yes, what are we doing? What are we doing for the poll today? Engage with your audience. Start a Q&A? Interesting. Well, I mean, you guys kind of ask Q&A questions anyway, so we'll just do a poll. Let's see. You're waiting for the transition music. Oh yeah, I keep saying I want to do like I could press a button and make that play. You don't care how overhyped it is? Well, that's the thing, is I remember watching like Death Note back when it was on like Hulu, because like it was, I don't know if it was like just released on there, but this was back in like 2011, and I watched Death Note like every episode on Hulu, because Hulu was kind of like starting to blow up then, or at least get more popular, so they had like free shows like that. And I just remember like every episode I watched, I just was like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, holy fuck, I gotta go to bed, but I really want to see what happens next. And I always just really enjoyed like whenever either L or whoever, what was the main character's name? When he would sit there and just have that like long ass fucking like monologue where he ran through like every possible scenario ever in his head. And I feel like that would happen a lot in like animes, and it's just so fucking funny. Light Yagami, that's right, Light. Alright, what question should I ask? What is your favorite... Damn, I wish I could Q&A you guys. What is your favorite flavor? Oh god, I don't even know. I can't even think of a question. My brain is so fogged. Q&A you. Well, here, I'll just... Oh, yeah, I guess it's a Q&A you guys. What's your favorite anime? Start Q&A. Boom. Wait. See viewers' questions and choose which ones to answer? Oh, that's not what I want. That's not what we wanted. Let's just... Sorry, guys. Let's remove questions. Confirm. Gundam, big robot. Sorry about that. That was confusing. It was like... Yeah, it was basically making me like choose a list of like questions. I don't know. I assume that's for like channels that are fucking massive and they have to like organize things better. Cover South Asian horror stories. I think I actually did years ago do South Asian paranormal horror stories. You could probably look that up within the search function. Yu-Gi-Oh! Gotta believe in the heart of the cards. Haha, it's me, Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm a little boy with purple hair, but I've got the voice of a very large man. Alright, we ball regardless. Cowboy Bebop, yeah, Cowboy Bebop's good. What's Fearless Fly about? Sailor Moon. I remember that one figure skater who dressed up in like Sailor Moon for her performance. I thought that was pretty baller. It was like the Winter Olympics years ago. Does Aeon Flux count? You know, it's Aeon Flux is animated, but I don't know if it's technically a Japanese cartoon or whatever, an anime. I don't know. It was good though. Inuyasha. One of the best things about your family owning a bar is that one day you get to inherit that bar. For many years, I assisted my father in running the bar. I bartended, worked in the kitchen, and helped with paperwork when I can. A couple of days ago, my old man unfortunately passed away, making me the sole owner of the business. One of the patrons, an older gentleman named Boris, was deeply saddened about the news of the father. The news of the father? The father? One of the patrons, an older gentleman named Boris, was deeply saddened about the news of my father. The man was sobbing, which was interesting as... What the fuck? This guy seems kind of heartless about his dad dying like 6 minutes ago. The man was sobbing, which was interesting. Fuck. The man was sobbing, which was an interesting sight for me. I've been working in this bar for over 20 years, and I've known Boris that entire time, and I'd never seen him get like this. Boris was a bigger man. He had a faint accent of some kind, but I'm not good with accents, so I have no idea where he's from. Over the years, I would consider Boris to be a friend. Other than my family, he's the longest relationship I've had. I know that Boris and my dad knew each other before he opened the bar, but I never got the story as to how they knew each other. For years, he would sit at the bar and talk to Boris. He was your typical dive bar regular. He rocked a full white beard and had solid white hair that was pulled back into a ponytail. He always wore brown, like he didn't own any other colors of... He always wore brown, like he didn't own any other clothes of different colors. He always had some wild stories to tell, and they were always entertaining. So to see Boris so torn up really hit me hard. I gave him several drinks in the house in memory of my old man. That night when I closed the bar, Boris was still sitting there, in no condition to drive. I looked at the mentally wounded man and said, "All right, my friend, you're not driving tonight, I'll take you home." I knew where he lived because I had taken... I'm really confused. This guy's dad died. Like, what's, like, literally just died? And it's like... But the way he's, like, telling the story is as if though it's, like, been years or something. What's the scariest story I've ever told? Probably this one that we're reading right now. It's so spooky. It's super scary. I knew where he lived because I've had to take him home countless times before. He lived 2 minutes away, and that's if he caught all the lights. I did all my cleaning and started to shut off the lights. "Come on, Boris, we're leaving," I shouted one last time, but he didn't budge. I sat down next to the man and put my arm around him to try and console him, and I still am shocked and slightly terrified about what happened. In a weak voice, Boris finally spoke up and said, "I'm not the man you think I am. When you get older like me, death makes you think." I just nodded and rubbed his shoulder a bit. I didn't know what to say. Boris then took his gigantic hand and slammed the counter of the bar. He looked at me in tears and said, "I've done things you wouldn't imagine. There were few ways to make a living where I came from. It was the only way I could escape, and I liked it. I liked what I did. I never knew I would feel like this, though. Never." Boris was drunk and clearly not in a stable mind. Okay, buddy, let's just get you out of here. You sound like you need some rest. I said calmly as I stood up. Boris stood up swiftly, which was impressive for a man his age and under his current condition. The giant man made me look like a child next to him. He grabbed the collar of my shirt and started to jostle me around like a rag doll, and now screaming with pain in his voice, "You don't understand. I've done things. I'm not a good man. I still see the faces. Every night I see the faces." My heart was nearly beating out of my chest. He started to back me into a corner. I wasn't even processing his words at that moment. I was preoccupied with how I was going to naturalize the Naturalize. Boris is a lizard. He might be, dude. He started to back me into a corner. I wasn't even processing his words at that moment. I was preoccupied with how I was going to neutralize the situation. Just as my back was fully against the wall, he turned around and sat back on one of the stools at the bar. He started to sob again. "You think you know me? Your father, he knew. He's gone now, just like everybody else." Boris started screaming and yelling. No words I understood. It clearly was some other language. He became even more irate, throwing the stools and flipping tables. My keys and phone were still behind the bar, and I sat like some coward in the corner while this giant man lost his poor mind. Finally, he turned to me one last time and said, "The faces won't haunt me anymore. I won't let them." Then he ran out of the bar, faster than anyone had ever seen move at that age. I just sat paralyzed on the ground for several minutes, trying to process everything that had just happened. Once I finally calmed down, I got up to chase after him, but when I ran outside, he was completely out of sight. I grabbed my keys and started to drive up and down the road, and he was nowhere to be found. I couldn't imagine a man his age could have gotten very far, but the roads were empty. I drove to his house and knocked on the door, but no answer. At this time, I finally called the police and reported everything to them that I just laid out here. And Boris never went home that evening, and believe it or not, he's still missing. No trace of his body or him anywhere. His car is at his house, and he's not there. And he has no family that the police or I could identify, and nothing in his home indicated where he could have gone. And as of writing this, he's still out there somewhere, and honestly, I just hope he's okay. I've talked to that man a million times. Sometimes I've told countless personal stories to him, and some I genuinely care about have... Wait, what? Check under the steamroller. Oh, here he is. Someone buried him alive after they ran him over. It's a common occurrence. I've talked to that man that man millions of times. Someone I have told countless personal stories to. Okay. I have talked to that man, I can't fucking read the sentence, Jesus Christ. I have talked to that man, and then I squeak. I have talked to that man millions of times. Someone I have told countless personal stories to, someone I genuinely care about, had completely snapped. Something he had buried deep down with him finally escaped, and whatever memories he had became too much for him to sustain. Voice crack. The reason your voice cracks is because you smoke too much crack. Oh boy. We're cruising, we're schmoozing. Fingers crossed you passed your NCLEX. Hell yeah. I remember there was like a trick with the NCLEX or whatever when I took it. And it was like you could, like trying to set up the next like time you can take the test or something, it wouldn't let you. So if it let you like schedule another test, then you failed. But if it didn't, you didn't. It's funny how in life some friends can come and go. What's not so funny is the way some of the friends go. A couple of years ago, my best friend Dee decided to have her bachelorette party in Nashville, Tennessee. The prospect of spending an entire weekend in Nashville was exciting, to say the least. The group of us contained seven girls, and that included the soon-to-be bride. We all pitched in and rented an awesome house for the long weekend that was just a several-minute trip to where all the happening nightlife takes place. A trip to Nashville isn't just an hour down the road for us, so it required some planning to make it a reality for Dee. As a result of the months-long planning process, I ended up getting much closer to some of the girls that were going to be at the wedding. One of the girls could be described as outgoing, if I'm being nice, but more realistically, she was abrasive and in your face. Truth be told, I ended up becoming really close to her during this time. Her name was Megan, and it started off just meeting for drinks and planning the trip. That soon evolved into real plans of hanging out and talking about more than just Dee's wedding. Megan was a wild spirit. We'd go out drinking, and she was the girl who would try and get on top of the bar and dance. She almost always left with a guy or a girl and was always ready to go back out next. Fuck. She almost always left with a guy or a girl and was always ready to go back out the next day. For a while, I admired her spirit and just the overall tenacious attitude in life. I was looking forward to partying with her in Nashville. It was surely going to be a treat, and oh boy, was I wrong. By the time the Nashville trip came, I was already becoming wary of Megan, as horrible as that. What? Yeah, this story is about Shorty Meg. This story is about you. Be prepared. All your information is being doxed. Meow. By the time the Nashville trip came, I was already becoming wary of Megan, as horrible as that may sound. Someone I considered an acquaintance and then a good friend, I was starting to have second thoughts about her. When we were in Nashville, I hated to admit that my gut was right. Megan was off the wall, and not in a good way. She got up on the bar and tried to dance again, just as she's done many times in our hometown, but she fell off the bar and cracked her head open. She was alright and wasn't hurt, but it was embarrassing. And what do you mean she was alright? She said you cracked her head open. Doesn't that mean your brains are like spilling the fuck out? She completely snapped her fucking skull, burst open a hole, but she was good. She's just a flesh wound. She was alright, didn't seem to be hurt, but it was embarrassing, and we were asked to leave the bar. She tried to fight several of the other bridesmaids, as well as patrons of the many bars we went to. Dee was so embarrassed, and she wanted to go back to the house that we were renting and stay in so we wouldn't get in any more trouble. Megan was not a fan of that idea, and stating... What the fuck? The sentences are so fucking weird. She was bleeding out of her ears, but she was good. Megan was not a fan of that idea. stating over and over again that we were in Nashville to party. If we wanted to have a house party, we should have just stayed home. Being the maid of honor, I tried to tell Megan that it was about whatever Dee wanted and not us. Well, Megan didn't seem to care. She basically told us that we were lame and that she was going to stay and party at the bar. Dee was furious and told us to leave her there and that we were going back to that. Dee was furious and told us to leave her there and that we were going back to the house. I told Megan to call me when she needed a ride and I would make sure that she got back to the house one way or another. She was a bit dismissive but nodded and then went back to the bar. We drank and played Wii Sports at the house that we rented. Believe it or not, this was one of the highlights of the trip for me. It was relaxing and fun and we all just had a good time. I had forgotten all about Megan until about 4 a.m. I got out of bed and checked my phone. I had one message from Megan at 2:30 in the morning. It was a picture message of her giving the finger to the camera with a group of 3 girls and one guy all giving the camera the same gesture. Though that may seem alarming to some who may read this, I assure you this is a typical Megan message. I called her, and the call went right to voicemail. I texted several more times and got no response. I walked around the entire house to make sure that she wasn't sleeping in any of the rooms, and to my horror, she was not. I didn't know what to do, honestly. At around 6 in the morning, I woke up some of the girls and asked them what they think we should do. Because Megan was horrible to some of the girls earlier in the night, the girls basically said to just leave her and good riddance. Though a part of me may have felt that we couldn't leave her here. Oh my god. Though a part of me may have felt that we couldn't leave her. Okay. Well, that's good. Though a part of me may have felt that we couldn't leave her. After all, something could have happened to her, and at the end of the day, she is still one of Dee's friends. When Dee finally woke up, there was still no sign of Megan. Dee is a bit of an anxious human, so she became erratic right away. Our flight was later on that afternoon, and we needed to get ready to head to the airport. We finally decided after a long back and forth that the best course of action would be to call the police and figure out what to do. Right before calling the authorities, Megan finally called us. She sounded messed up, like maybe she was drunk or something. She yelled at all of us, telling us that we were horrible friends and we deserved to rot in hell. She specifically singled me out, which I still don't understand to this day. We begged and pleaded with her to get back to the airport because we needed to leave, and she basically told us to screw off and that she could get home just fine without us. After dropping several expletives, her final word to us in verbatim was, "Just leave me in Nashville. Bye." Dee tried the entire afternoon to get Megan to the airport, but no response. She turned off her location and just blocked us all, and we had no idea where to find her. We boarded the plane and just left Megan in Nashville. Days passed, and I went about my life without thinking about Megan. I eventually spoke to Dee several times about it, and she told me that she hadn't heard from Megan either. She had no family here, so we really didn't know how to get in touch with anyone to make sure that she was all right. We looked her up online, found nothing. We even went as far as to look at missing people and even deaths, but thankfully nothing. We decided that wherever Megan is, whatever she's doing, she doesn't want to be found, and hopefully she's safe. And that was several years ago. But just last week, though, I had my first encounter with Megan, and it didn't go well. On Friday after work, I get home and decided to stay in for the evening. It had been a long week, and I was ready to just lay low and drink a glass of wine. My boyfriend was out of town for business, and I was going to be alone. Shortly after midnight, I decided to get ready for bed. I called my boyfriend to say goodnight. I decided to FaceTime him while I was brushing my teeth and getting ready for bed. I had my phone propped up on top of a little cabinet that I had in my bathroom. From where the phone was propped up, he could see out the doorway and into my bedroom. My boyfriend was in mid-sentence telling me a story when he just stopped. I asked if he was okay, and he said, "Is someone else there?" I laughed and grabbed the phone. I asked what he was talking about, and he said that in the background he saw the closet door open slightly. I was freaked out, but for sure thought that he was messing with me. I looked back down at the phone and he was visibly shaken, which isn't like him. He texted me while we were on FaceTime and told me to get out of the apartment now, claiming that he could absolutely see someone moving in the closet. I tried not to be obvious and make my way to the kitchen. While I was putting my shoes on, I looked at the doorway to my bedroom, and standing in the doorway was none other than Megan. She looked insane and ready to attack. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her, and she stared back at me, and in an almost sinister voice she said, "You left me in Nashville." I put my hands up to reason with her. At the same time, my boyfriend was still on the phone, and he had his roommate in the hotel room call the authorities to send someone to my house. Before I could say any words, Megan said it again, and this time with more ferocity in her voice. "You left me in Nashville." Flight mode kicked in, and I decided to run as fast as I could out the door. Megan chased after me as she continued to yell that same phrase repeatedly. I was sprinting, and Megan was close behind, not at all letting up her chase. Before long, I could see the lights of a cop car. I flagged them down in desperation. It was as if Megan didn't even care. The cop got out of the car, and Megan. Megan tackled me. She started to stab me in the chest and face. Owie. It hurt. I flagged them down in desperation, and it was as if Megan didn't care. The cop got out of the car, and Megan tackled me in front of the police officer. The cop apprehended her. Boop. Boop. You think he would wait? Like, why the fuck years later you come back? "I'm back. You left me in Nashville. Not so good. Time to kill." Where am I at? The cop car. Okay. The cop got out of the car, and Megan tackled me in front of the police officer. The cop apprehended her immediately, and she became frantic, screaming and making noises I still can't even understand. They arrested Megan, who was carrying a knife, concealed inside of her sweatshirt. What she intended on doing with that knife, I still don't know. This is all so fresh, and I don't really know what I'm doing. I've hired a lawyer, and I'm trying to figure out what even happened. It seems like Megan is some shell of herself, as if the real Megan isn't even in there anymore. I've never had a friend that has come into my life so fast and left even faster. I reflect on everything that happened in Nashville and how we all reacted, and I'm sure leaving her that night had so much to do with the eventual collapse of her sanity. I reflect on everything that happened in Nashville and how we all reacted, and I'm sure leaving her that night had so much to do with the eventual collapse of her sanity. I blame myself for what happened, even though why can I pass? It's always the fucking last paragraph where I'm like, I get freaking flim-flam mouth. Mush mouth. I blame myself for what happened, even though many have told me, God, fuck it, I reflect on everything that happened in Nashville and how we all reacted, and I'm sure leaving her that night had much to do with the eventual collapse of her sanity. I blame myself for what happened, even though many have told me not to. I hope she recovers someday, and anybody who can offer any guidance on my situation as to how I should handle this is greatly appreciated. Just be kind to everyone, because you never know who might be hurting on the inside. That's not really, I don't really feel like that message applies to Megan. Because I'm fairly certain they tried their fucking hardest to get that bitch to go with them back home, and She didn't seem to want to, so whatever. Nashville Liddy, especially with your peoples. That'd be fun. The fall definitely messed her up. Oh, that's true too, yeah. Cracking open her brain hole. Pigeon Forge, what's that about? Yeah. What I like to do is if someone climbs up on a bar, I just usually stick like a banana peel near their legs. Well, actually, when I go to a strip club, that's instead of dropping dollar bills, I put banana peels around various locations on the tables. I just think it's funny. Whoop-woo! It like makes a little cartoon noise. Whoop! Whoop! And I say, gotta go. And they chase me around the bar, Benny Hill style. It's like the security, but all of a sudden, like, and like the strippers are chasing me too. And then we run back and forth through the hallways, but like once in a while, like, when we come back, me and the bodyguard, like the security guards, are like wearing the strippers' clothing, and they're wearing our clothes, and we're like, oh my god. Yeah, I feel like someone hitting their head probably required a hospital visit. Cracked it open. She's fine. See, I could have wrote Scooby-Doo. How come nobody ever hits me up to write their hit TV shows? We could have fucking knocked that shit out of the park. What's his name wouldn't have had to go to jail? Barry. It could have been me. It could have been me in jail. No, I would have been made God King. He made Scooby-Doo! I made Scooby-Doo. He wrote Scooby-Doo. He must be held in the highest of praises. Yeah, I used ChatGPT to write Scooby-Doo. Holy shit, I hope somebody does that. Like, I could see a YouTube video be titled that, like, I completely rewrote the first season of Velma using ChatGPT. And I made it awesome. I'm sure most people who read this can understand what I'm saying when I say, I wish I would have listened to the warnings about a certain romantic partner. We have all had horrible exes, I'm sure, but mine could have ended my life permanently. When I first met Wyatt, everything was like a dream. He seemed like the guy who presented his life as an open book. He was charming and witty, and he was wildly handsome. Tall, had an athletic build, the right amount of scruff, and had the most beautiful white teeth that he always presented when he smiled. I know we all have different things that attract us, but he was objectively speaking very handsome. Whenever people met Wyatt, they instantly fell in love with the guy. He just had one of those extremely likable personalities where he could get along with really anybody. Wyatt and I went out on a few dates, but nothing flourished right away. Everything that I just mentioned I loved about the guy, but I just didn't feel a special connection. We talked about it and Wyatt understood, and there were no hard feelings. We stayed friends and went our separate ways when it came to dating. We started to get really close as friends over the next few months. We could tell each other about our love life, or lack thereof in my case, and offer advice. He became someone in my life that I treasured. His friendship... Holy shit. I just remember, like, reading that. I just had, like, a flashback, dude. Because I went on this... Okay, I had this... while I was reading that, I had a flashback to this... It's funny, you're like, while I'm reading, I sometimes, like, think about other stuff. And, like, I remember that I went on this date with this one girl from the gym who I thought was cute years ago. And I don't know exactly how the conversation got into it, but she started to tell me that she would, like... like see like ghosts and shit like that, or like and like have like these like just terrifying fucking like night terrors and stuff. I don't know. It was just strange. Like we only went on like a few dates, but man, it was just interesting. Joel stories, things only happen to me. My life isn't that exciting, to be honest with you. This is very repetitive, but also very mysterious and cool. I'm a secret agent. I'm a secret agent, but I'm a secret agent that also works at Target and Best Buy. Rubber Reggie flashback to Riot Rom. Like zoink Scoob. I'm starting to shake. I got shell shock. I forget. Some stand-up comedian said, he's like, did you ever go on a date with a girl and she says she's like into like witchcraft? Like if I went on a fucking date with a girl and told her that I was a wizard, that shit's fucking over. Like I am not getting a second date. But girls can just say that they go to fucking Hogwarts and guys are just like, yeah, sure. When are we having sex? We started to get really close as friends over the next few months. We would tell each other about our love life, or lack thereof in my case, and offer advice. He became someone in my life that I treasured. His friendship was more important to me than any of my other friends at this point in my life. A couple of years passed, and Wyatt eventually started seeing this girl and then deleted all of his social media, and he mostly stopped talking to me. I didn't take it too personally because by this point, he and I didn't really talk nearly as much. Shortly after that, I stopped seeing Wyatt around. Even though he and I drifted apart a little bit, we would. Warlocks are a creation of Hollywood from the 60s. It's very rude fairy. Because Pradeep is a warlock, and he does all sorts of magic in that litter box over there. I don't know what's going on there. He makes a lot of weird noises. He's fucking probably putting like Eye of Toad and Leg of Frog in there. Just doing all sorts of crazy shit. Just warlock shit. Even though he and I drifted apart a little bit, we would still see each other out at the bars, but lately no Wyatt. The number I had for him was no longer in service, and he still never had any social media. One night, a group of people at the bar started to talk about Wyatt. I was informed by these people that his breakup with the girl that he was seeing went horrible, and he ended up moving away to restart his life. I felt bad for the guy and honestly felt a little upset that he didn't talk to me about any of this. I know we had somewhat drifted apart, but I would have been there for him in a second if he had called. Life went on after this night, and I soon forgot about Wyatt until one night not so long ago. It was a Friday night, and I was at the local bar my friends and I always visit. It was like a scene out of a movie. Suddenly, the doors opened, and just as handsome as ever, Wyatt walked in. I stepped away from the group of people that I was with in mid-conversation and greeted him with the biggest hug ever. We talked all night about everything. It was like being with the old Wyatt before we drifted away. The one thing I noticed in hindsight was that he never got up to order a drink from the bar. I didn't notice it then, and I wish I had. That night he came over to my place, and for the first time in all the years I had known Wyatt, we kissed. That kiss eventually led to more dates, which led to me giving him a chance outside of the friend zone. I was recently single again and emotional, and I think he just had come back to town at the right time. Part of me felt like this was the right choice to give him a chance, but something deep down still told me to trust my initial gut about this guy. When we finally started dating, I noticed that he never wanted to go to the bar, but we always went. Fuck. He never wanted to fuck. Sorry. Scooby-Doo took a poo. Shaggy thought it was candy. Shaggy took a bite and turned out white, and that's the end of Shaggy. Nice. Gandalf has entered the chat. Gandalf's like, hey, where is Pradeep? He better not be shitting in that box again. When we finally started dating, I noticed that he never wanted to go to the bar we always went to. I thought it was a weird request, but nothing to be sketched out about. Some people just don't like certain bars or restaurants. So for about a month, we never went to that bar. One night, my friends all begged for me to meet them at our usual bar, and I told Wyatt I wanted to go. He seemed nervous for some reason, but ultimately just said whatever. He said he didn't want to go, which was totally fine with me. I'm not one of those people to have to be with my boyfriend 24/7. I met my friend that evening at around 9:30 at the bar. Wyatt said he would pick me up at around midnight. When I ordered a drink, the bartender looked at me and her eyes lit up, and not in a good way. She tentatively looked... Fuck. She tentatively took my order and then brought my drink back, not even remotely making eye contact with me. It was as if though I offended her in some way, but I couldn't think of anything I could have done. I shrugged it off and continued to hang out with my friends. Periodically, I would look over to the bar and notice this bartender staring at me. It was a little jarring, but I wasn't about to let it ruin my night. When it was almost midnight, I closed out my tab and decided to use the restroom before Wyatt picked me up. While I was washing my hands, the bartender walked in and locked the door. I thought I was about to get jumped or something. She had tears in her eyes and she said, "Gina, you're Gina, right?" I nodded and responded with a very hesitant yes. The bartender lowered her head and said, "Please tell me you're not dating him. If you are, you need to end it." Before letting her finish, I went right into defense mode. I figured she was jealous or some sort of ex-girlfriend or something along those lines. "Listen to me," she shouted. With nervousness and tension in her voice, she started to speak again. "I used to date Wyatt a couple of years ago. He would always compare me to you, say things like, 'Why can't you be more like Gina?' Or 'Gina would do it like this,' or my favorite, 'When I'm with Gina.' I grew to hate you. I didn't even know you. Then I found on his computer a folder that had hundreds, if not thousands of pictures of you. Those pictures of you were taken from all over the place. You driving, walking, pictures of you on dates, even pictures of you inside your house. I confronted Wyatt and he went nuts, deleted everything, threatened me and left town. I never saw him again until the other night when he walked into the bar. I knew you looked familiar to me, but I never put the pieces together until I saw Wyatt." My heart was racing at this point. I didn't know if I should believe her or if this was an exaggeration. I asked why she didn't contact the police, and she couldn't give me a straight answer. I started to feel like she may have just been a little jealous and I didn't believe her story. It just didn't seem like Wyatt. I thanked her for warning me and asked her to let me out of the bathroom. She unlocked the door and just stood there with her head down. At the time, I remember thinking to myself, if it is fake, this bartender is doing a great job looking scared. She was trembling and white as a ghost. A little after midnight, Wyatt pulled up and I got into his car. We started to drive back to his place, and I felt comfortable enough with him to bring up the story that the bartender told me. After repeating the story to him, he was quiet for a second, like he was trying to find the words to say. Finally, instead of denying it, all he said was, "I just loved you so much, Gina." I looked back at Wyatt, who had his eyes on the road, and said, "Whoa, dude, are you telling me that story's true? You took all those photos of me?" He didn't respond with words. Instead, he just started to drive faster. I looked over and our speed was climbing. 75, 80, 85. and before I knew it, he was driving well over 100 miles per hour. I was frantic and screaming for him to stop the car. The stretch of highway we were on had a slight turn coming up, and when he hit the turn, he drove straight, and we went sailing right through the guardrail. The windshield shattered, and we rolled down a massive hill. I truly believe the reason I didn't die was because of that hill, as we eventually lost momentum as we continued to roll. I blacked out for a second, and when I came to, Wyatt was unconscious behind the wheel. I was bleeding from my head, but I was coherent, and I didn't feel like I had a concussion somehow. I grabbed my phone and called 911, who showed up extremely fast. They were able to treat my injuries, and as they pulled Wyatt out of the car, he finally started to come to. He was extremely groggy and taken to the hospital. I, however, told the police everything that happened that evening, how my boyfriend had purposely driven off the road going way over the speed limit. I did tell them about the pictures, but they didn't seem to do anything about it, at least I don't think they did. He was charged for the drive. He was charged. Da-da-da-da-da. Charge it. You're doing a puzzle on your iPad and cuddling your rat. Who up cuddling they rat? He was charged for the driving incident, and you better believe I pressed charges. I don't know if this guy intended on killing us both, or if he just truly went insane in that moment. I've known Wyatt for a long time, and I would never have any idea that he was capable of such horrors. I'm lucky to be alive, and I should have listened to the warning about him when the bartender told me. Thank God he's in jail, and I'm working with someone now to see what can be done about the alleged pictures he's taken of me. If true, that may be a serious crime thrown on top of what he did as well. Fuck. If that is true, that might be a serious crime to add to his others. Fuck. If that is true, that might be a serious crime to add on top of what else he did, and Wyatt might be locked up for his foreseeable future. Pet rat named Scabbers. Oh. Little Scabby. Your dog wants you to take her out, but it's cold. Well, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do so they don't shit on your shoe. Alright, outro script. Man, that was kind of quick. Oh shoot, we're like on the nearing 800 people too, which is kind of a lot more than normal. Trustin, what's up? Oh yeah, it was Ron. Oh, Ron's bat was named Scabbers. I'm late to stream because I found out about the stream. What the fuck is wrong with me? Why? It's okay. That one kind of blew by pretty quick though. Make sure I read everything. Yeah. All completed. If your brains are hanging out, you're okay. You left me in Nashville. I had to become a country music singer because of you. They forced me. Everybody from there sings, and it's so fucking annoying. And now you will pay. You will pay for your sins. Did you not see my brains coming out of my eyeball when I fell off the stripper pole? Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations, I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. EST, and there are super fun live streams every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/Let'sReadOfficial, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks offered for the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories in big compilations and save huge on data, located anywhere you listen to podcasts. All links in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, 7-leaf clover with a 2. Have a great night. Gotta go boost my car. Sweet dreams. Oh, thank you, Clover. Good to see you. What should we say at the end? What should we say? Anybody ever touch my Funko Pop and die? Hell yeah, we'll do that one. It's true. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, if you touch my Funko Pop, you die. Stay away from my fucking Funko Pops! Like foaming at the mouth. Oh, you piece of shit, that's Nibbler! Don't touch Nibbler! Don't touch it! I remember whenever like Bilbo Baggins wants the ring back, he hadn't seen it in forever. He's like, "Give us the ring." That's kind of how I get when people touch my funkies. That's what I call them. My funky collection. Don't touch it, or I'll slit your freaking throat. Dildo Baggins. Bilbo Daggins. Anyways, friends, thank you so much for another amazing stream. I'm sorry the twerk notifications didn't work. We can try again here. Nope, don't work. Oh, there are no events. What the frick? What the frick? Why they not work? No worries. But thank you again for everything. Thank you for the support and the fun times. I will, as usual, get these up and edited to go on Patreon. It's only $1 a month over there. I think you can do a free trial for a month or something like that, I think. And I'll get it up on YouTube. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. EST. Be sure to watch it right when it comes out. It does really help the algorithm quite a bit, I believe. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. And also hit it so you don't miss a stream either. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at Let's Read Creepy for all the stupid things that I have to say on there, which is not that much, honestly. Just I try to keep it chill, but just funny. And then yeah, I'll probably be back streaming either on Saturday or Sunday night. So yeah, follow me on Twitter so you know when that happens. Just do the bonus content that we gotta pump out here. So we're gonna pump it out. Yeah. What the frackle? What the fishes? Joel's IG has no chill. My IG, really? I feel like my IG is kind of boring because it's just all just the thumbnails and stuff. But sometimes we go hard with a meme or two here and there. But either way, guys, thank you so much for everything. Appreciate you. Yeah, and I'll be back soon. So I will see you in the flippy floppy.